Oh, did you? I see. A nice pair of shoes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the microphones are on. We are being recorded and we're live streaming on Granicus. It's a little after 7 o'clock. You have a quorum. Mr. Chairman, we're ready to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Well, I will call to order the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting of Thursday, May 17th. I'll begin with a roll call. Phil Cranmer.
Here.
Ron Hill.
Here.
Dave Shannon.
Here.
Todd Towns.
Here.
Missing are Jason and Joey and myself, all 5 of us here.
Mr. Chairman, both Mr. Alberisi and Mr. Costanza reached out to let us know that they'd be unavailable for today's meeting.
Awesome. Thank you. Next item, Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I thank everybody for watching at home or who will end up watching our recorded meeting today. Next item is the approval of today's meeting agenda, and we do have a request.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose that immediately after public comment, we roll to new business and allow Mr. Krokoff to speak on 2 of the 5 items. And after this, then we just continue new business, then roll back to committee reports.
Okay. Seems like a reasonable request. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
A motion by Ron, second by
I'll second it.
Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item in front of you is the approval of the minutes from the April 19th meeting. Some of you were here, some of you weren't. Jim had sent these out to us. If you had a chance to take a look at them, any questions, comments? Nope. If there are none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 19th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the
Motion by Dave.
Second that.
Second by Todd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Jim.
Mr. Chairman, we have no public comment at this time.
Okay, great. So public comment being closed, we'll move to new business and we will welcome Steve Krokoff to come and speak to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Weird to be on this side of this. Thank you all for everything, for all you do, and I do appreciate you in allowing me to speak shortly this evening. I see you have a tremendously long agenda this evening, so I'll be as brief as you allow me to be. I believe I am talking on the 2 new business items. It would be the revised partner commission structure and the MOU discussion. If it's all right with the board, I would like to talk about the first one, the revised partner commission structure first. Specifically, what I'm looking to discuss, and this was born out of a conversation that I had with Jim Craig, and he had brought it back to me that you actually were talking about this internally as well, is specific to Section 4 of the Athletic Association Facility Use Agreement, and that is specific to consideration for the usage of the facilities. As you're all aware, we currently have a 15% commission based on all registration fees. That is down from 30% roughly 2 years ago. But I would like us to consider, and this is what Jim and I had been working on, a different structure for the commission. Actually, I would like to abandon the commission-based fee program. I would like to see something that is more pegged to field use. And there's a few reasons for that. First, I feel that the registration, the commission-based fee, it's somewhat arbitrary because it's based on the costs associated with everything that runs a program, and I don't see if let's use football as an example. I don't know what costs more than other things, but let's say you have to buy all the equipment and it's very expensive. That doesn't have any more of an impact on the city. In fact, it's just driving up the commission based on the fact that you're more expensive to participate in that program. It's just driving up the fee. Whereas if it was based on field use, it would be specific to the field you're on, whether it be artificial turf, grass, or any of our other fields, a lighted field, a non-lighted field. And I believe that would serve two objectives. The first is, again, pegging it to actual use. The second would be, I'm hoping that it will encourage efficient use of our space. As you know, one of the issues we're struggling with right now is to determine truly what our capacities are, and I know that's something you as a board are looking at as well. I feel that if we create more of a market condition here, that supply and demand may dictate more efficient use of our field space. Now, that's not to say that we should drive up costs. At the end of the day, the cost shouldn't change all that much from the current commission-based fee structure. I don't want it to start costing our program providers more than it is now necessarily. That'll be up to you. But I do want to see something based on the fields that they want to use, when they want to use them. Maybe key slots, better times are more expensive. Less times that aren't necessarily prime time, maybe less expensive. Just some ideas to be able to create a little bit more of efficient use. It will also, hopefully, if we're able to accomplish this, we could get a better idea of what our true capacities are. I've never done that before. I'm putting it out to you. You may think this is crazy. I'm just thinking of how a free market works, and maybe this can help us a little bit towards our objectives. I'm hoping that this might be something you would consider as a board to look at. I would like to see us get off the commission-based fee plan, if that is at all possible. It just seems somewhat arbitrary, and with the different structures we have in place now, it doesn't always translate well. Any questions on that?
Steve, just out of curiosity, have we modeled what that rate may look like? Just to, from a break-even standpoint, so as to not increase our revenue or the fees to the program partners. Have we modeled out what that may look like based on various rates, based on field usage?
We have not, but it would have to be some very minimal amount. If you think about how many hours a field is used over the course of a program, I have not modeled that out. For argument's sake, it was a conversation I had earlier. If it's $7.50 an hour, is that really enough of a motivator to make sure somebody's on the field? I go back. My experience is with ice hockey. So when I used to have to schedule ice time, which was at the time $195 an hour, there was no such thing as any ice time being vacant. You used every second of that ice time. And if for some reason your team wasn't going to make it, you sold that ice time. And sometimes at a loss, but you sold that ice time. I know we're not going to be at those kinds of rates, but if we could create a system that somehow makes sure we're not over-scheduling, it will, a lot of times we decide, we'll practice with another team. We'll split it at the red line. You take that side, we'll take this side. Now, we're only looking at $100 an hour. Just different ways that we might be able to get a better, more efficient use of our field space. I am being charged by council to determine what our true capacities are. And again, as I know you're looking at that as well, we'll be doing that together. We won't be doing it independently. Because I need to determine truly, are we over capacity? Should our programs have growth objectives, or have they hit their capacity? Would it make sense? Does the program start to degrade after you hit a certain number? And this is what, you're all experts. These are the things that I'm hoping you consider as we go forward. Just hoping that we might be able to kind of kill two birds with one stone with this type of model. It may not work. I said it up front. I haven't used it here.
Yeah, but it may drive the behavior that we're looking for. So if there is a lot of, and I don't know what the percentage of booked time that goes unused. So if there's capacity there that could be divvied out, it might drive the behavior that we're intending it to do. I think it's a good idea.
I'm hoping so, but when you start really fleshing this out, I don't know. We may find something else.
Yeah.
You weren't here, Phil. We did get one volunteer on the board to be on a subcommittee for capacity planning, which we'll revisit under unfinished business for this meeting's over.
Yep.
Any other questions for Steve on the partner commission structure? Thanks. We'll look forward to hearing another little perspective of it and taking a run with it, Steve, so thanks.
I appreciate that, and if I could be of any service as you're going through that as well, I would love. I could be a resource to your subcommittee or anything along those lines. Any assistance I can offer. I appreciate the work you do and you're going to do. Awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, great.
The second is under new business. You have under C, which is the MOU discussion. For those of you who are aware, this past Monday at the work session, this is something we tackled at the council level. Jim did a great job with the presentation. If you've had a chance to review it, you should at some point, Jim. I'm hoping you have the opportunity to be able to present that to them.
We're going to be showing it tonight.
Oh, great presentation. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a real eye-opener. It really gets you thinking about our program and how we want to look going forward. So before at the council meeting, one of the things we discussed is truly what is it we want to be as a city as it pertains to Parks and Rec. Where are we going? When we're done, what does it look like? And this presentation on the MOU drives that question. What I would respectfully ask is that you allow me a few more days to frame the issue a little bit better. I don't want to make a mistake in conveying what the council is truly looking for. And it's just I just need a couple of more days to fully wrap my head around this and provide you maybe with a better problem statement or some objectives that I'm positive that is in line with what they're looking for. While they were very clear in their direction, and they were very clear, me coming to you and saying, what do we want to be is a very big question. I think I can provide more information and a little bit of our expertise that can help at least frame that a little bit. So I could have that to you through Jim probably by next week.
Great.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, that'd be fine with me, Steve. Questions? Did anybody see it? I was here at the meeting Monday, so that was the...
I did not.
I didn't see it.
It was, they were ready to throw it over the wall to Parks and Rec and let us have a go at it. And I appreciate Steve and Jim shaping the challenge they want to give us rather than just give us their MOU to solve their problem for them. So clearly they're looking for input. We have an opportunity to give them some guidance, and we'll take direction from you. So thanks on that, Steve.
No, I really appreciate that. That's going to be a challenge.
Any other comments for Steve while we got him here? Keeping him working on another Monday night or another Thursday night?
No worries.
Good. Well, thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you reorganizing your agenda for me this
Yeah, no
evening.
problem at all.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one of the customs within the city is that when we have a very busy agenda and we still have visitors in the house, we adjust the schedule a little bit. Mr. Sawyer is here. He has a public comment regarding Providence Park. With your permission, I'd like to propose that we move now to Providence Park. I will be showing you folks the presentation that was given, but Mr. Sawyer has sent, I'd like to say it was a very thoughtful, well-put email, and he's got some good points we've talked offline. With your permission, I'd like to call for Providence Park and allow Mr. Sawyer to speak, and so we can let him get home too.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Scott, you good with that?
Yes, appreciate y'all's work tonight and throughout the months prior to this.
Mr. Sawyer, would you read your name and address into
Yes,
the record?
Scott Sawyer. I'm at 787 Quarterpath Lane, Milton, Georgia. What I want to talk to you tonight just briefly is about the Providence Park Master Plan. And just some background on that is it's about the ADA accessibility for the inclusive park that may be planned for that space. And my background is my mom was paralyzed late in life, so I'm very familiar with accessibility, wheelchairs, transportation to facilities. And I have children. I love children. My boys went through parks, and we've used all types of playgrounds. So just some background, some context. And I will also provide my email I sent to the city, the mayor and the city council and Jim today to you all after this meeting. Maybe Jim can forward that to you all.
I would be happy to, sir.
Yeah. So I've been participating in the Providence Park Master Plan process, I think, since last summer with other citizens. And it's been a good experience. The city's been very responsive to some concerns we've raised about the build out of Providence, all the parks. So it's been a really great opportunity, and I appreciate Jim and the responsiveness to the citizens. But last night I came to the meeting. I think it was Monday night, I believe. Jim?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they had the Providence Park presentation Monday night to the city council.
Right. We're going to show the same thing here.
And then I've been to the 2 other events in person here the last couple of months since January. And then when I got home last night, I was reading the newspaper here. I don't know if you guys seen the latest Milton Herald, and I found out more about a large inclusive playground that's being fundraised, which I wasn't really familiar with. So I track a lot of things happening in Milton, but I didn't know about that activity, and it seemed like a great project. It's a $500,000 inclusive park playground that they've been talking to the city, I guess, about the last few months, and in the works for over a year now, I think. The city would donate land, and then they would fundraise and donate the park to the city, which is an interesting idea, and it happens a lot, I'm sure. But I wasn't aware of this. I don't think anybody else really was. And so as Bars did their presentation, there was never any talk about that inclusive park being in Providence Park, that inclusive playground, I'm sorry. And so I said, that's interesting. I'd not heard about that. And in their literature, they advertise that it's a fairly large playground that will require an acre in size. And all the planning that I've seen so far for Providence Park is there's going to be it used to be an accessible playground, but now it's changed in the last few master plans to say an inclusive playground. And so it's kind of shifted over time. And it's gone from, I think, 8,000 square feet to 13,000 square feet, which I don't think anybody really knew about. I'm not sure that's a large change. I don't know about size of the playgrounds. But nonetheless, I think that my point tonight is I think before the city council and you all as well vote to approve the Providence Park Master Plan, you should stop, pause, and go back and examine if that is a potential space that's being considered for an inclusive playground of that size, because it has impact on the roads, parking, bus accessibility. It impacts the neighborhood around there, and I think that the park, as it's been presented, the Providence Park is not of that scale and scope. And a couple of things that I was reading through I did a little looking last night as well. The fundraising for this, and again, I'm all for, people and children have access, is being promoted, to 5 counties in the North Georgia. And it lists Cherokee, Pickens, Forsyth, Fulton, what I'll leave out, I forget the other county. But it's all those plus 5 cities, and it says this will be the largest, most unique, inclusive playground. And so my concern is that if the city votes, and you vote and say, we think this is great to include the Providence Park Master Plan, that by de facto will be potentially the place for that playground, because that's how they're fundraising right now. And that makes sense to do it that way, because you got to have a place to put this thing, as opposed to saying, well, we're going to try to find a piece of land somewhere else and donate that. The city's going to donate the land. So I think the city should think about that and reconsider what facilities are needed in the Providence Park. If they're going to put that there, look at other spaces as well, and then also allow the citizens to comment upon that and know that this might be the plan for that, as opposed to just saying, well, this is, because I can't tell as a citizen if it's changing it, because I know things evolve over time. They've got momentum going. I didn't even know the recent fundraisers that have been going in the city. I've seen some of them, so I don't know who that is. Well, there's 3 fundraisers that have been going on that are getting money toward this specific project, and behind the scenes, discussions go on, and so it's not been as transparent as I think it could be and should be, so we all know what's going to be planned out and expected. And because there's not something so unique like this in the city, and you build it, people will come, and it will impact that park and change the scope. And a gentleman last night, I don't know if you guys saw it Monday night, another citizen gave a really great presentation about, he didn't know about this. He didn't even want a playground. He was saying, you have to take all the trees out. He done a study. You can go to his website. He made a website about this, very interesting. And so he was presenting that, but he didn't even know that a playground of this size might even be considered. So, and the last thing I'll mention is the other place they mentioned that could go is the Milton Country Club. And so the literature that's going out is saying we're going to put this in Providence or Milton Country Club before the master plan's even been approved. So it's just interesting. There's a lot of things happening. I think that as you all, as a Park and Recreation, should keep in mind as you review the presentation and vote upon that, possibly or not tonight. I don't know what your plan is about that, but I guess that's pretty much it. So my son said I should watch Parks and Recreation, which I've never seen. So
It's not like this.
So he's 23, and he said, I've never seen it. So here I am tonight. I'm living the dream, I guess, right? So,
It's not any fun like that.
is it not like the TV show? Okay. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you.
Scott, Mr. Sawyer, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And you're welcome to stay, but
Are you going to do the Providence Park presentation, or is it the same presentation you did?
it's the same one. It's the same one from
Are you
Monday.
all voting on that tonight to approve that, or is that?
That will be the decision that this board makes if they wish to vote to approve it or not.
Okay, well, I might stay and listen to that, just out of curiosity. If you're going to do that, well, I'll stay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Chairman, if you will,
Yeah.
we'll go right into that discussion, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was perfect.
All right.
So I'll move to item B.
We're going to go to the slide, the lectern. That's the lectern PC. Okay. How do we get to full view here, Tom?
View. Yep. Keep going down.
Oh, there we
you
are.
go. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Without my IT help, I'm pretty wasteless. Okay, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is similar to the presentation that was showed once before. I made the decision to let the consultants know they did not have to come out here. I felt comfortable going through the presentation myself. So, again, just want to let you know the overall agenda here. Well, they had their own introductions and the overview of the design process, refinements, and then some of the process they went through. Now, the design process, you've seen this, folks, before, but there was site analysis, concept development. We've had multiple public meetings, long-term master planning. We had a third public meeting recently. That design process, collection, mapping, these are all the types of things that were done, the site analysis. Again, I'm going quickly through this in the interest of time. These are things you've seen before. Please do not hesitate to say, slow down, I want to look at this. Fair enough? Okay. So some of the graphics that were used before, the soils analysis, slope analysis, vegetation, summary of the opportunities and constraints. This was presented to stakeholders in August 24, and here's the actual pictures of the actual things that people talked about that they're looking for, the input we received, public meeting number 1. We got even more information and elements, things that folks were looking at. Concept development led to 3 different designs that were presented to staff. And ultimately, what we did is we picked pieces of all 3 of them to create the initial proposed master plan. And so we combined elements, and we came up with this initial plan that was presented to the public. And frankly, we received some feedback that was very constructive of things that folks liked and things that folks didn't like. And there was concern about a greenway connection that we were showing here that was meant to be somewhat rhetorical, but it came across as very direct. And so there was also concern about the amount of the asphalt that was proposed for the ADA accessible trail. There was concern about the proximity of the natural surface trails down here. And so we went back to another master plan process based on those comments and meetings. It was proposed here. So then we came up with this particular design. And it was important, one of the things we wanted to do is make sure we show what those changes were, that we show that we listened to people. Relocated Greenway Trail, that which had been up here is now moved to down here. We're not looking to go through people's backyards. The multi-use trail, most of it would be reduced from 10 foot to 8 foot, resulting in a surface trail reduction in this right here. I do want to make sure that we're commenting for the record that we are in the process of pursuing a $200,000 grant for trail, and that particular section of trail, which I believe is what we're talking about along here, where it would be 10 feet. So, and so we wanted to show that we had reduced that as well. And we relocated the natural surface trail from here to up here. So there's the least buffer we have is 30 feet from someone's property. And this was presented to City Council. And we also offered a long-term master plan. And the refinements include the removal of the zip line, the removal of the rock climbing, the removal of boundary buoys within the Providence Lake, pervious asphalt parking bays within the parking area, a compostable toilet at park entrance for which we are currently pursuing a $100,000 grant to build that and make it part of a grand entrance. That was presented to the public April 26. Concept drawing is not quite accurate here. The restroom building would be actually more up around this location here. And then what is phase one? Well, here we can break out what phase one would be. And it's going to be due to budgetary constraints. We project this to take 4 to 5 years to get to and include the following. The demolition of the existing building. You know we're playing that cat and mouse game with the building. Stabilization of the site. That building is roughly in this area here. And then this is what it looks like when it's more stabilized, taking it more into perhaps a meadow look. Streamline realignment of dam repair. Up along this location, there's stream that comes down to the park and eventually feeds Lake Providence, has breached its dam and is now draining water into the quarry area. So we want to get that fixed. We would need some infrastructure right now. There is no water in the park. So we need to get utilities. We need to get parking straightened out. We need to get water management taken care of. That's in this area here. Notice we're not talking about expanding the parking lot in phase one. We're just talking about stabilizing it. Using pervious parking. If we have to repave it, then don't repave with standard asphalt, make it pervious. The trail system, we want to get those trails going. The trails that exist today are created by stormwater runoff and animal usage, people walking the trails. They are not currently ADA accessible, and they're not really sustainable with what we have because it'll just flow the water down. So we'd have to have some different guidance. And I want to make clear here that this is a representation. Ultimately, the trails have to be field engineered. So, we may not have this bend here or that bend there, but it's to give a concept that we're trying to get something, ideally in the area for 3/4 of a mile, to give yourself a nice walk through the woods. Here's an example of an 8-foot wide multi-use trail in Decatur, Georgia. And this is what we can make it look like. We don't have to tear down all the trees.
And that trail, that's for multi-use trail? Walking, bike riding? Or is that just?
Walking, I imagine you could do bike riding on it. That's something, certainly a policy decision that you folks would be addressing here. But I'll tell you what, if you'd ride a bike there, it's going to be a heck of a bike ride. Don't forget, it's got about a 20-degree incline.
We had one similar to this in Virginia Beach, and it ran like 20 miles and ended up on the ocean front, but it started out.
At 3/4 of a mile, I don't think it's going to attract a lot of bikers. Okay.
It's too short.
It's too short. All right, and then here's what a natural surface trail would look like. Obviously, this is very fresh mulch. You know, there's times we have that at Bell, and times then the mulch gets worn out, but that's what concept here. And again, we're not talking about wiping out large volumes of trees. Here's an example of one of the trails right now at Bell Park, and that's what it looks like. We would also want to put in signage like this, as we have done. This is from Skidaway Island, but we've done similar things like this at Birmingham Park and also at the Bethwell Community Center. There's proposed areas where if we're going over some of the marshy area, we could do these simple bridges like this. Inclusive playground. Now, first and foremost, I want to tell Mr. Sawyer that I have already forwarded to the Parks and Rec Board through email. I did that while you were talking. So they have your email, okay? I'm sorry? You asked me to forward your email to the Parks and Rec Board. I've already done that. In various iterations, we've proposed 8,000 square feet. We've proposed 13,000 square feet. Again, the intent of the Children's Charities Program, they're looking to try and do an acre if they can. That's 45,000 square feet. Okay. I don't foresee that the Children's Charities Organization could potentially be here. If there was a scale back, perhaps. But what is proposed is a playground. And the last playground I put in was over here at the Browell Pavilion, and it's not inclusive. It's not accessible for kids in wheelchairs. There's a couple of limited features to it, but I think given the way this city likes to operate and its desire to be inclusive to all people of all abilities, anything we put there, would have to have features of inclusiveness. And so while it may not be the large project, and I honestly don't know where that's going to go. Could it go Providence? Well, that's the decision of council. Could it go Milton Country Club? That's the decision of council. And all of this, of course, is based on public input. It could go a third place. Where that third place is, I don't know. Okay, so what we're suggesting here is a playground, because what we're trying to do is do something that will attract kids to come in, and then when they're done playing there, then let's go explore. Let's take them to the woods. So that's the purpose of the playground, is to give something to help attract kids in. They use this picture, and this is ugly. I would never want this, okay? It's a slide I don't like. I don't like all these garish, rude colors. I think what we put in to Providence Park, I've seen some wonderful presentations recently. I've been going to school on some playground stuff, and you can build playgrounds that blend in with the nature, and that's what we would be looking to do here, not this. So fencing, some type of aesthetically pleasing fencing. It's important we show our barriers, show the boundaries, because we want to be good neighbors to the people around the park. And so just as we did at Bell Park, we did hog wire fencing. Perhaps we'll do floorboard fencing. That's just a function of budget. But there very much is the intention to completely fence off Providence Park. Okay? Not only to keep people from wandering off the property onto private people's property, but also to keep the private people from wandering in. If you want to come to the park, you come to the entrance. Okay? There is a desire to put a quarry fencing overlook out there. And here's an example. This is Tallulah Gorge, but here's an example of some fencing that could be used. I'm not saying would, could be used to build around the quarry so people could look down into the quarry. It is kind of cool down there. Okay? And then a lake overlook and deck. Love something that we could put out here. Here's an example of something you could do. So people could go out, get over the water, maybe fish, catch and release fishing, and just sit and be with the lake. And then some lake edge and wetland improvements. Over here, you've got a wetland area developing. And there's an example of some things we can do to help beautify that area.
Jim, was the walkway removed through those wetlands?
That walkway, as you can see, you've got a pedestrian bridge right here, would get you there. But the walkway is discussed as a part of Phase 2. Okay? So this is all Phase 1 proposed to happen over the course of 4 to 5 years, based on funding and priority. Okay? And the opinion of the probable costs, Phase 1, over 4 to 5 years, all these things being done, roughly $3.5 million is the projection. Phase 2, implemented over the next 3 to 4 years after that, expanded parking, the quarry overlook, and a performance green, building a nature center to replace the existing building, little dredging the lake, the wetland boardwalk, the potential of woodland camping, roughly another $3.5 million. With regard to the woodland camping, I spoke vigorously at the council meeting that the citizens who have spoken up about the concern with camping are right. We should not allow overnight camping until we get to the point that we can provide after-hours supervision. There's too much potential for something to go wrong. That park used to have camping. There is an area in the design that calls for the potential for camping, and I would like to encourage that we keep that there, even if it's still 5, 8, 9 years from now, because it's one of the flattest parts on the land. Otherwise, everything's on a slope. So what we're proposing here is, here we are, it's 2018, so 5 years, not 2023. We're talking around maybe 2025. Our desires may be different, our needs may be different. We may have different facilities where we say, no, we don't do camping here. We'll do it at this new property we bought back in 2022, So I just would like to not lose that flat land for a potential purpose. But I stated for the record, ultimately I work for the city manager, the elected officials, as well as the citizens. If I'm directed to do overnight camping without supervision, I'll do it, but I'll fight it. Okay? The citizens are right. Okay, so this is...
How do you define supervision? What is that?
How about a park ranger? How about a off-duty police officer? Someone to make sure, because it's not just the potential of a wildfire.
Somebody stays there all night long. Park attendant.
Yeah.
You see them in state parks.
You see it all the time, yeah.
So the Boy Scout troop leader wouldn't qualify?
No. So
And the camping is by permit only too, correct?
it would have
If
to
we
be by
got to
permit
that
only.
far, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But
Jim, any other questions?
The campsite, is this simply like for tents, and what type of camping are we talking about?
what is proposed is setting up platforms that you could put tents on, have a small little amphitheater there so people could drive around, and a place for a single campfire. But again, 5, 8 years out.
Long way.
So we have tried to listen to all the input from all the citizens. We have tried to address every question and every concern. With regard to the promotions of the Children's Charities Group, they are anxious to have a location, a defined location. The city has not provided that. It is important to their fundraising issues that they be able to say it's going to go here, it's going to go there. And I understand what they're trying to do, and they're trying to create a wonderful, wonderful gift to the city. We just are not in the position to say definitively where it is. Like I said, I think it'd be very tight at Providence Park, but that's just my opinion. Don't know if Milton Country Club is the answer. Don't know if the answer is another parcel that the city doesn't have. But the city is committed to them that they will, if they raise the money, we'll find a place for them.
On the question of phase 1, phase 2, so phase 1, from a restroom perspective, is a compostable toilet. Certainly that doesn't support phase 2 development of a nature center or an amphitheater.
I apologize, sir, I didn't hear your question.
No, so in phase 1, there was a discussion of a compostable toilet.
Compostable toilet, yes.
Right? So phase 2 has got the idea that there is more people in the park, amphitheater, nature center.
Right.
So would I assume that in phase 1, you're going to run the plumbing down and water lines down into the park to build restrooms farther into the park than out of the parking lot, or is that all that going to then be another construction project? And how do you see that?
That's a great
I
question.
didn't think about asking Steve that Monday night. I should have.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I would suspect if the intention, and I'm being a little bit guesswork here, if the intention is to get the infrastructure in place, there aren't too many places we could put the nature center. So we would probably be running the utilities, water, electric, things like that.
On the front end.
On the front end of the deal, and bring it to a point and just cap it off and wait till future development.
Yeah, there's already an existing septic field out there, water lines, and power.
There is an existing power transformer, so that is out there. There are no water lines out there. That was on a well, and there was a network of water lines that ran from the well. As part of the settlement with the Georgia EPD, it was declared that the well could not be used again, and that's why there is no water.
Okay.
And what was the other question?
And there's an existing septic field.
PRAB I have. There probably is something out there. There certainly were bathrooms there. That's a deep in the weeds engineering discussion.
Other questions for Jim? It's a wonderful plan.
Yeah.
It's 2 big phases over a long time with a big price tag. So my gut tells me that this would get eaten in little bites over a long period of time. But I think it's fascinating to watch. For those of you who were here from the beginning, you guys, Todd and Jason, didn't see it, but when we went from those 3 ideas into this one, it's really neat to see it all kind of come together now. So if there are no more questions, then I guess we, since the council saw this as a work session item, we should, having reviewed it, we should give it our blessing, and then it'll go back to them for their final vote, unless there's any other comments or additions you want to make to it. But if there aren't any, then I would, as they've seen this exact same presentation, then if there aren't any other comments, then I would entertain a motion that says we approve the revised Providence Park Master Plan as presented to us, and recommend the council approve it.
I have one question.
Yeah, Phil.
With respect to the phases and the budget, is there any flexibility or consideration that we would want to move faster than what was proposed? So again, not knowing what the total budget, assuming that is the total budgeted amount, and does that have to be phased? Is that arbitrary, or is there the flexibility to take the 4 to 5 year horizon and shorten that by a year or two on each end?
Mr. Kramer, that's certainly the prerogative of council to do so. And that's ultimately, they give the direction to staff to move certain projects up and other things get moved behind. Ultimately, it's a question of the prioritization that the council, the mayor and council provide to us. We propose this as an effort to be budget friendly, but keeping in mind that the city has many other projects that are working on, road improvements, construction of a new
public safety building.
Also, the idea of potentially pursuing other IGAs to help expand field space. But if it is the will of the council, and ultimately they are working at the will of the people to get this done, then it certainly can be done. It's not a ground in law here, but the message we were trying to deliver is that we do not envision the same type of flash bang that we had with Bell Park. Because to rebuild that park in 14 months really was quite a tremendous effort, and we put out over $10 million, and we're paying that off now. So if the council wants to,
10 million found.
build it quickly, give us the money.
We might find another $10 million, but that was found money.
Yeah. That's my only concern, right, is I just challenged the time. That's a long time for a passive park, right? 14 months for Bell Memorial, which is incredible. For a passive park, not that it's any, short task to complete what was proposed there, but that's a really long time horizon, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And again, not having a sense of the flexibility to the budget and the spending, I really don't know.
Yep.
Right? But if those funds are available and that's not the gating item to make this thing move faster, then I would just challenge us to say, can we expedite the project plan than what was proposed?
I would suggest you talk to the councilman who appointed you and have that discussion.
The council make them, as Jim said, do the final balancing of items. But your point's taken. I mean, we can't have enough parks, develop parks for the citizens.
I'm ready to make a motion for the Providence Park on this latest presentation.
Okay.
I'll second that.
A motion by Dave and a second by Phil of the Providence Park presentation or master plan, I guess we really are approving. Second, send it to council with our approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Let's keep going through new business, huh? Mm-hmm. We'll get it done?
Yep.
Who seconded it?
Phil. Thanks, Tom. You want to stay on new business and get through all new business before we go to we're doing so good?
With regard to the revised partner commission structure, is there anything for us to do now, or did you want to try and set up some subcommittee or anything like that? What would you like to do with that?
Yeah, so so let me go backwards since not everybody was here last month. So we talked about the idea of commission structures. We were getting into the issue of field capacity. Jason spoke up that he'd be interested. I certainly would be happy to be involved. What I'd love to capture, if I can, is some football perspective, because I got lacrosse covered, I got baseball covered.
I'll do it.
If I could get football covered, then we could kind of talk about what that all looks like. So if you're willing, Coach,
Yeah, no problem.
then Coach Hill will be our third for the subcommittee, and
Who are the other two?
myself and Jason.
Okay. All right. Got that?
And so that'll make us the team for starting with capacity and partner commission discussion.
All right, so from this point on, I will simply move this particular discussion item to unfinished business as we track it each month.
I'm sorry?
I will move this item to unfinished business as we track it each month.
Yeah. Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, is there any other action you want to take on the partner commission structure at this time, or are we done for this time?
Steve's going to come back to us
Okay.
through you
Very good.
shortly before our next meeting, and then subcommittee can meet with Steve's input.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, if you're okay, I'd like to move on to the MOU discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to get better technology. You got to be able to run it from there. Before Jim begins, Todd, you and Jason, the newest guys here. The MOU, are you familiar with what the MOU is?
Actually, that's part of the presentation.
Yeah. Okay, then I was going to talk about it, but if you're going to cover it, you're all in. The floor is yours.
All right. Prior to the formation of the city of Milton, Alpharetta was not allowed to charge out-of-city fees to the unincorporated area. This came about as a result of a decision in the mid-90s when the city of Alpharetta physically purchased Wills Park from Fulton County. Wills Park had been a county park. Alpharetta in the 90s did what they called a parks bond, and they made an effort to really start to develop their parks. So they had, at this point, they had, at the time of the purchase, they had a gymnasium behind the old city hall. They had an agreement to build and they had built a pool using 2 acres at the Fulton County Wills Park. And they also had land on which they had built 4 fields in a non-contiguous parcel of land on Cogburn Road that was called North Park. So the decision was made that they wanted to buy from Fulton County Wills Park. Part of that purchase agreement was Fulton County put in the contract that they could not charge an out-of-city fee to a resident of unincorporated Fulton County. They could charge it to a resident of an incorporated city such as Roswell, but they could not charge the unincorporated areas. Upon incorporation of the city of Milton on December 1st, 2006, Alpharetta immediately imposed the out-of-city fees, which was 75% on anyone in the formerly unincorporated area, which is now Milton and Johns Creek, and the year before Sandy Springs. So an agreement was entered into with the city of Alpharetta between the city of Milton. It was initially, the initial purpose was people were upset about walking across the street at North Park to a park that's completely surrounded by Milton, and suddenly they're out of city and paying, 75% more to do something that they were doing the day before. So it eliminated those out-of-city fees on the residents. And in the decisions and the discussions that followed, the decision was made to not focus just on North Park, but to expand it to all Alpharetta programming, all facilities, all programming. So we entered into this open parks agreement in 2012. It's an agreement that automatically renews. There's an annual review of fees, and the structure is that the city that did not collect the larger number of out-of-city fees got a payment from the city that had the lower number. Every year it has been a payment from Milton to Alpharetta. Okay? So the city subsidizes those non-resident fees charged. Well, how does this MOU fee work? So here's an example using some very simple math. An Alpharetta resident who comes to Milton and it's a program with $100, the non-resident fee is 50%, so it's $50. Reverse it and have the Milton person go to Alpharetta with a similar program for $100, and it's $75. Okay, so there's already a disparity there. If you scan to the bottom, there's a difference in the non-resident fees cap. We cap at $90. So if you have a program that is $200, 50% would be $100, but we cap it at $90. Alpharetta, their cap is at $112.50. So already you can see differences in how the out-of-city fees are handled between the two cities. So in this example, the Alpharetta tracked and found that they did not collect $230,000 from Milton residents in their program, and we did not collect $30,000 from Alpharetta residents in our program. Subtract the little number from the big number, and here's your net difference. There's also a capital investment multiplier, in which you take that difference and multiply it times 0.5. And that is intended to compensate Alpharetta for the capital investment that they have already made in creating these facilities that Milton residents are using. In addition, at the Adult Activity Center at North Park, there are 3 main activities that go there. One is the Golden Age Club, one is just activities at the Adult Activity Center, and the other is day trips. The vast majority of the activity at the Adult Activity Center is in the membership in the Golden Age Club and the general activities. So for those 2 activities, a flat fee was instituted. The first 2 years was $40,000, and every year since then it's been $55,000. That was based upon taking a percentage of the cost and comparing it to the percentage of Milton residents, and it came up with a flat fee. And that was done because if we had absolutely gone to an individual, it would have been so cost prohibitive that the deal would have sunk. So what you have here is a net difference of $200,000 that at the end comes to $355,000. And as you'll see in the next slide or two, this is actually a fairly realistic example. Just I made it simple on the numbers. Is everybody good with this? Mm-hmm. So here is the actual utilization. And if you look right here, this represents the number of Alpharetta people who came to Milton. This slide is the number of Milton people who went to Alpharetta, and here's the total number. So what's the difference in these 2 numbers? If you look at them here, and then you see them really jump here, this number here represents the difference in the in the Milton residents who are participating in the Golden Age Club and in the activities at the Adult Activity Center. So the purple number includes all the youth athletic programming, adult programming, things like that, and the day trips. And then this other number here, this represents the activity at the Adult Activity Center.
Jim, to be clear, for everybody up here, the numbers you're showing are paid registrations, not people. They're not individuals. That's an important distinction to draw out.
Thank you for that. I did neglect to say that, yes. If a person goes on 6 day trips, the same person goes on 6 day trips, that's 6 registrations. Okay? It's one person, but it's 6 registrations. So what we're counting here is registrations. If a young boy plays baseball fall and spring, that young boy counts twice. Over to good? Okay. So here's the annual utilization as it's gone since the start of this MOU. Here's the costs. The green is the net difference. The red is what the final payment was. Now, if you look over here at this number here, 461, 661, that's what really brought about this analysis. If you look at how it was tracking here, 325. Remember that example I showed you, what was it, 355? 316, 326. This year, we expected this. This was the year Bell Park was closed. Then it went down, and so we thought we were trending down, and quite candidly, I budgeted $350,000 for this year. So imagine how excited I was to go to my boss and say, I missed the mark by about $110,000, $15,000. That was not one of the more comfortable conversations. So who's using the MOU? So what we did is we took the data and we plotted it in GIS, and this doesn't include any of the adult or teen athletics, the youth baseball, youth football, youth softball. All of the data was presented to us in a format that was extremely difficult to process, and ultimately what I wound up doing was reading line by line and checking the addresses manually for over 2,000 pages. A mind-numbing experience, okay? But we couldn't even plot these adult teens and this other stuff because we couldn't even get any of that into Excel. What we received was photocopies of handwritten sheets, okay? So here's the categories of programming, of what's costing money. If you look, for example, at the youth athletics, there's 1,137 registrations, and that costs $115,000 impact on this. So you can follow it up, instructional programs, the summer day camps, summer specialty camps, the aquatics, adult athletics. If you look at the adult activity center, that's upside down because we have the flat fee there for 2 of the 3 things happening. Everybody good with that? And then the special events.
Sir? Can you go back for a sec? Can you explain for everybody the difference between instruction, a little bit of more color around what are instructional programs since it's such a big number for us?
Instructional programs could be gymnastics, dance, intro to baseball, intro to football, a lot of youth stuff, art programs, things like that.
Doesn't seem rec for.
Pardon?
Are those all rec programs, those instructional?
Yes. Yes. I'll actually go into this a little more in the next slide.
Okay, please.
Okay. So what were the top 10 drivers of registration increase from 2016 to 2017? If you look here, the big 3, gymnastics last year accounted for 240 registrations. Gymnastics in 2017 went up almost 600, certainly around 575 or so. And the gymnastics team activities dramatically leaped, more than doubled. Dance almost quadrupled. Art youth classes, an 8-fold increase. Wills Park Summer Day Camp, youth instructional camps, karate, flag football, instructional sports, and youth baseball. Youth baseball and flag foot and football are actually covered. Actually, tackle football is covered in a little later in the discussion. But this is where the big changes came. So now you're looking at registration increases. Now let's look at the program costs from 2017, the top 10 programs and what they cost. All right, gymnastics, which a year before had been around 10,000, was now over 35,000. And you can see all the numbers for gymnastics. The bars in gold indicate these are programs that the city of Milton offers, and we are, in effect, paying the registration fee, the out-of-city fee, when we in fact offer similar programming. Any question? Okay.
Jim, one question. Go back one slide. Have those numbers where we do offer the similar program, over time, has that gone down? Has
No.
it been, no.
No.
I'm just curious, what is a gymnastics registration fee that the 75% could be so great for that program when we think of football being so expensive?
Well,
It
keep
would
in
almost tell me
mind,
that their program is dominated by Milton residents rather than their own residents.
keep in mind that there was over 800 registrations in just the straight gymnastics there, so,
Yeah, 800. It's big.
all right?
Okay.
So it's a component of cost times registration participation.
What's the registration for a gymnastics, 12-year-old gymnastics
What does it cost?
session?
What does
Yeah,
it
what's the
cost?
cost?
I have,
General idea?
it
I
would
can
be
tell you
something
for a
we'd have to
season, it's
find out.
about, we don't do it in Alpharetta, we do it, I guess it's technically Johns Creek, but it's about $200
For a season?
for a season, $250 a season.
Is that through the rec department or is that
This is private.
private?
For some reason, I'm thinking, wait, Tom, it looks like you're buzzing away there. You got something for me?
Well, it looks like the non-resident fee per registration is around $44. Doing the math, 35,000 divided by 800.
That sounds
So
about
that's
right.
the non-resident fee. So then I guess they're charging about
So
$60.
It's probably
or
about
something.
$60, $65.
Okay.
Round number. Okay?
But you can take that class probably, 8 times a year.
Okay to move on? This is very data intensive. If I'm going too fast, stop me. Okay, so here's the financial impact of registrations, and I want to apologize. It shouldn't say non-resident fees waived. It was just saved for the city to pay them. But again, here's what you're seeing is the financial impact of those registrations. Gymnastics at 10.5 and now at 35,332. So this is what drove big increases. Okay? I took a look at the competitive program offerings. And if you look here, what I'm showing you here is that between the city of Alpharetta and the city of Milton, between both cities, there were a total of 802 registrations for basketball. 46% of that was Alpharetta residents in Alpharetta. 24% was Milton residents in Alpharetta. So that accounted for 70% of all the basketball. And rather than read the slide, I'll read to you, I'll tell you the slide. Ready for the next?
Based on the growth that we're seeing in our basketball programming, though, I would imagine our growth, right, our piece of the pie, Milton residents in Milton, is growing.
It is growing. Don't forget, this is data from fall 2016 through summer 2017.
Right.
Okay? So this is pre-free tackle. Okay? This is before the year of free tackle last year. Everybody with me? And here's football. This is the one that tells a very interesting story. Pardon? Again, looking at the tackle, not flag, the tackle program offering, okay, between Milton and Alpharetta, a total of 469 registrations. Look at this particular stat right here. Alpharetta residents in the Alpharetta program, 28%. Milton residents in the Alpharetta program, 40%. This is part of the agita that Alpharetta has. There's more Milton in their program than Alpharetta. Okay? Baseball. Again, Alpharetta residents in Alpharetta, Milton in Alpharetta, 48%. And they get another 14% to bring us to 62% is in the Alpharetta program. Other residents being Roswell, Johns Creek, Cherokee, Forsyth. Okay?
So Jim, if I read this slide right, then there are more baseball players coming from Milton than there are from Alpharetta.
I'm sorry, say that.
There'd
Correct.
be more Milton baseball players than there are Alpharetta baseball players. Since we're at 16 and 32's 48.
Yes.
And they're at 32 and 2. 34. So
That's correct.
It's a rather significant
Yes.
difference that baseball's winning.
And also look at the total participants, too. Part of that is the issue that there's baseball's played 2 seasons, football's played 1.
Right.
Basketball's played 1.
But it's interesting as we start to think about our hats, about the MOU and at the highest level, the shared programming or the co-offered programming about how what their composition is telling. So something to think about as we move forward. Thanks.
And then here's lacrosse. Now, I want to point out, if you look up here in the upper right corner, other residents in an Alpharetta program, 0%, but there's a slice there. There's a total of 750 registrations for lacrosse between the 2 cities. And keep in mind, for the boys, I happen to know that the other residents in the Alpharetta program, the number was 3. So it rounded down to 0. And whereas the Milton residents in Alpharetta was 4, it rounded up to 1. So I know people get a little wonky when they see a 0 and a slice, but I wanted to be clear with you folks on that. So in lacrosse,
That's 75%.
we've got 56, 68, 75%.
Yep. We got that on.
And that doesn't count the girls, okay, because it's not a competitive program. Alpharetta doesn't even offer girls lacrosse. Okay? So that brings us to this year's calculation. All right, using the same formula we've seen before, Alpharetta did not collect almost $300,000, and we did not collect almost $27,000. That gave us that net differential of 271. Add in the capital investment multiplier, 1.5. Add in the adult activity center fee, and we have a bill which physically I signed off on the invoice yesterday of $461,660.50. The check was physically cut today and will be mailed tomorrow. So this is where we go to council and say, okay, what are the next steps? Well, we got to pay the 2017 fee. It's due. We owe that money. That was done today. Number 2, I've got to prepare. I just started budget cycle. I've got to prepare in my 2019 budget for when I pay off the 2018 MOU, because we're almost at the end of the 2018 MOU cycle. Okay? And I have no reason to believe that the number will be lower. Okay? And then we have to examine with council the original intent of the MOU and the future vision of what do we want to be when we grow up. Here were some possible solutions, and there were others that came up in the council. You know, these are all things that we could do. We can continue the renewal. We could possibly renegotiate the MOU to account for competing programs or specific program access. though I will tell you in 2 different efforts in the past that has not gone successfully. Explore alternate locations to offer additional programming. What says we have to continue with Alpharetta? If dance is so important, why don't we do a deal with RISPA or something like that? It's, things like that. You could eliminate the MOU and just focus exclusively on what we have, or we could eliminate the MOU and look at long-term planning to expand Milton programs and facilities. And so it really just came down to, what do we want to be when we grow up? And folks, that was the entire discussion. And thus, council, having a broad range of feelings on it, they felt strongly that they would like to have the Parks and Rec Board advise them. And that, gentlemen, is now our mission. Todd, I bet you didn't think you were going to sign up for stuff like this when you got
No, that's not what I was thinking when I got up this morning.
Dave, Scott, do you remember when we would have Parks and Rec Board meetings and almost nothing to talk about, nothing to work on?
You guys weren't here Monday night, but I sat in the front row as they went through this, and they were calling on me like, "We're going to give it to Scott and the Parks Board, and they're going to go," and they're engaging, and I'm like, "I thought you guys were supposed to keep that on your side of the wall, the discussion." So they were. This is clearly an issue for the city, but from a budget perspective, everybody wants to live within their means and plan for their expenses. It's clearly an issue for the city that it's growing seemingly without a lot of thought to it or process. And it's apparent that the council doesn't want to dive in the weeds and figure it out. So we've proven to them that we're capable of taking complex things and boiling it down and spitting back to them a recommendation that they may or may not follow, but they have adopted that this is something they want. And so Steve, as he laid out earlier tonight, is going to kind of give us really our objectives. What does he think the council wants us to do? Because it's a big amorphous mass at the moment, and we'll take it under our wing, and we'll sit, and if we have to have a work session with it, we can drill down into the numbers with Tom and Jim's help. We can do all kinds of things, but we'll get an assignment here next week or two, and then we'll help Jim and the city with some ideas about where we're going to go. Fair enough?
How is that process negotiated between the
Initially?
cities? Yeah, so how does it, I vaguely remember how it started, but how did it?
So it started with a councilman and the chairman of Parks and Rec.
Actually, that's not completely true.
And the city manager.
No. It started when I was serving on the Parks and Recreation Commission for Alpharetta. And I was asked in May of 2012 to put together an overall view of parks and recreation facilities in Alpharetta and surrounding areas. And I was asked to bring that to a council meeting and report on it. And it was well known that I had worked a lot up with the unincorporated area, and then I had been working as an advisor to the city of Milton. I was fully disclosed my activities there. I was well engaged at Bell Memorial Park. And Mayor Belisle asked me if I would be willing to start a discussion with the city about possibly working together, because I said, I know for a fact that they intend to rebuild Bell. When, I don't know, but I know they intend to do that. It is a priority. So the mayor asked me, and I said, are you sure? I mean, I'm just a Parks Commission chairman, and you guys, they said, no, you've got the relationship, make the entrees. So I started meeting with John Rebar and Chris Lagerblum on this discussion. During the course of that discussion, John Rebar resigned.
Who was the Parks director?
Chris Lager, he was the second director to resign in that year. In a year. It was spread out over 2011 and 2012, but John lasted only 10 months. And during that discussion, Chris offered me this job that I have now. So now I had to go back to Mayor Belisle and say, something's changed. And they actually were quite supportive of it, okay? So I stepped down from the Recreation Commission for Alpharetta, came over here, and we continued the discussion. In the discussion was, let's see, Mark Reed and Ben Easterling, who were the two leaders of the respective boards, myself and Mike Perry, Bob Regas and Chris Lagerblum, and Matt Coons and Jim Gilvin.
Gilvin, yeah.
Okay? And that's how this came about, this deal came about.
And then there was an iteration after that where it went right to city manager.
Yes. But one of the issues from Alpharetta's perspective is that they operate differently than Milton does. We have a strong city manager, and they have a city administrator. Each elected official is directly over individual departments. So Alpharetta has said that they don't really, they prefer to deal not city manager to city manager, but they want to go elected official to elected official.
Yeah.
And they're year-to-year deals? Or
It automatically rolls over.
Got it.
Any other questions, comments?
In 2014, we made a presentation to the Parks and Recreation Commission to try and propose a renegotiation, and that did not go well. They basically came back with a response of, you guys should be paying more. And then last year, there was an attempt at a negotiation that did not go well.
So there's your work cut out for you. Simple as that.
Well, it's got to be fixed. I mean, it speaks for itself.
It's untenable.
Yeah. But it goes into a bigger discussion, like about facility and what we need, and which is why we're the right
The
group to talk
council
about
talked
it.
about it Monday, right? So at this current spending rate, you could spin off some money and start investing in a fixed
absolutely.
indoor facility, and in 10 years you've paid for it. But so that's sort of our needs out of the agreement. We'll see what we take to the table when we negotiate. Other comments before we leave this item? This is a great presentation again, Jim. Thanks for sharing with us. As we get the assignment from Steve, we'll dig deeper into all of those cost drivers, and I'm sure we'll have more questions about elements that are in the MOU to understand it better. But thanks for tonight's presentation. And Tom, thanks for jumping right in there when on the spot with a question. Next item of new business is the Milton City pool policy discussion. Mr. Craig.
As you may recall, at the last meeting, I asked for some help on some pool rules and things like that. Scott was kind enough to send some to me. Alpharetta also shared with me some of their rules. And I took some of Alpharetta's rules, I changed them to fit what we're doing here at Milton. And these 2 pages here are proposed as both posted rules as well as general rules, but not posted. The guards would have to know and I've worked with the city attorney, so the attorney is comfortable with these rules as posted. I will tell you, my apology, I neglected to include the pool party policy, though I see pieces from what Scott gave me that could be very useful, as well as our contract with Dynamo Pool Management. So they have a limit that if there's going to be, I think they said 16, let me check that to make sure. Additional lifeguards. Okay. They want notification 14 days ahead of time that there's going to be a party, coming ahead, so they can plan extra guards if necessary. And this policy says a pool is any group with more than 8 people, and then it has to be coordinated. So I think we could cob together some policy that says a party is X amount of time. And one of the questions I want to ask is, do we want to do things like consider a time when a larger group is allowed to come, and how much far in advance they have to notify us? Because the concern we have is, if we've got 2 guards and we've got 70 people in the pool already, and a bus shows up with 50 more kids, do we have capacity? Can we do this and things like that? So we don't want to have, Tom, can you speak on how we do Camp Joyful Souls and we have to schedule in advance with Collins Hill? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We have to schedule ahead with them. Now, their pool is closed when we go. So it's a little different situation, but they still have a max capacity out there. And we don't exceed it, but they don't open until we leave in the morning.
Okay.
What is the max capacity of this pool?
We're still waiting to get that answer from Fulton County.
What did you say it was?
There's a posted, from when the country club owned it, there is a max capacity that they put on their sign. I think it's 250 or 260.
247. No, 250? Yeah.
I think I took a picture of it.
Yeah, it's 250? Okay.
I think I took a picture.
Yeah, but they've got like 250 something, and it's, it'd have to be a case of if everybody jumped in at the same time, well, the water would blow out of the pool,
The main pool is 250, and the little kiddie zero entry pool is 47.
Oh, that's where I got the 47.
Perfect.
That says 165?
Yeah, I had put that down as a placeholder. I don't yet know because I thought we had a number, and then I found out, no, we don't yet have a number. I have been doing a little reading on it and, getting what the formula is and, X number of square feet per person and divided by 32,000 square feet of the pool. I came up with about 165, but don't know what it is. So what I'd like to ask you guys to do is take a look over some of the rules as posted and give me your thoughts on it, see if this is something that you guys feel comfortable.
When does the pool open for public?
The pool opens the Saturday of Memorial Day.
Saturday of Memorial
So
Day.
we must come to a conclusion on this tonight.
I know when I, lifeguarding at a different pool, when we had large groups that wanted to come to the pool, we would allow them to come during the non-peak hours. If they wanted to come as a group, they would have to come during our morning hours because after lunch, when we had peak hours, we didn't allow large groups to come in like that together. It was open to the public. Now this was on a military base, but it's still, you had dependents and their friends or whatever. We would cater to that large group during our non-peak hours. They can have it.
You probably don't know what a peak is yet.
No, we don't.
We don't have a clue.
And on top of that, through June, we will have the swim team using the pool from 8 to 11
That's your non-peak hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty much your non-peak. Kids aren't going to get up before noon during the summer when they don't have to swim. What do you think?
So if you're going to register groups, what I envision the groups of 8 kind of thing is, it's 8 or 10 kids for a birthday party and they all want to go to the pool. It's not a group of 40 people showing up as a party, right? They're going to apply because you've set the bottom number, and then you can manage. If somebody applies for 50, you can tell them that 50, based on what we're doing, can't show up Friday at 5, but they can come Friday at 3 or...
I have no provisions in our pricing schedule this year for renting the pool out for private parties.
Yeah, I'm not considering
Okay,
private
right.
parties. I'm talking about that was the issue
Right.
in the rules about a group of people,
Right.
A party, as it's defined, or a group. Most of those groups are small groups rather than groups of 50.
Right.
You're not going to have.
So if you guys can give me some guidance on at what point we declare it a party and you have to schedule ahead of time,
If you're not going to have private parties, then you probably just make that a main pool rule that there won't be any, and just put it in your written statement somewhere.
okay? But what happens is we already have a request from one group, the Taekwondo group, that wants to be able to bring 25 kids and 5 counselors to have a pool day at the pool. So we've already got requests for a large group to come. Summer camps, and that's what's going to happen. We're going to become a magnet.
So how are you going to monitor your capacity? So if you,
That's the job of the lifeguards.
so 2, right? Dynamo's providing the 3 lifeguards?
3 lifeguards.
Will they do the hourly breaks like they do at most schools or pools where you have the adult swim?
I'm definitely thinking that we should have, and I'd like your opinion on this, that we should have every hour, 10 minutes of everybody out of the pool,
Yeah, every pool that I've been to where you have
right?
significant amount of use, it gives the.
It's adult swim.
It's adult swim, so the lifeguards, it gives the lifeguards a break, which they need.
The problem with adult swim is adults can drown too.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay?
point.
So that's something that I am not supportive, nor is the fire chief supportive of a period of time that the guards are off duty and anybody's allowed in the pool. So
There was an argument that adult swim was discriminatory.
Well, I'm good with nobody.
That was raised in a neighborhood.
No, I agree. I get it. As a former lifeguard, I would definitely agree that the pool needs to be empty for 10 minutes
well,
every hour.
if nothing else, it gives an opportunity to make the kids get out and go to the bathroom.
So you said you weren't going to rent it to private groups, or you're saying that you're starting to receive requests. Could you just lock all those people and say, if you want to come, it's before a certain hour? And
That's what I think we could do.
you could do mornings, hoping that, a morning during the week for a camp is not as popular as a Saturday at 3 with the families.
Well, the swim team's going to be already out there in the mornings during camp time.
In June.
Yeah.
In June. So,
Yeah, in the mornings. So
we could-
sometime.
We could say something like, if a group contacts us, if a group just shows up with a bus, we would say, no, we're turning you away.
Well, you can't because they have to have a membership pass.
If they've got, no, we're talking about a summer camp that shows up with a bus full of people.
Right.
And
So,
they're looking to buy daily pass,
so they would all show up to buy daily pass, yeah, without unannounced.
unannounced.
So that's the rule about group party culture. You've got to pre-register
you've got
a
to
set of
notify-
people greater than this number.
Right, and you've got to notify us
Yeah.
at least 14 days. Obviously, it'd have to be 15 because we got to be able to react to it.
Right.
Let me ask you this, the pool is you can only have use to the pool if you purchase the season passes?
No, you
Or
can
is
buy
it a
daily
day-to-day?
That's correct. That's correct. There's daily passes.
Got to have the season pass.
You can have a daily pass,
Okay,
and
you
that
can have
gets
a
you in
daily
one
pass.
day, or you can have a season pass, which gets you
Okay,
in every day.
that's what I'm saying, so they can do
One at a time.
day-to-day because it's a public pool, correct?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
My assumption is that whatever rule we make is going to be modified based on our experience as the summer unfolds. So I'm not as worried about black and white in the rules, but
Excuse me, I have to step out for a minute. Could you keep the discussion
Yeah.
going? I'll be back.
good guidance for the city around a functioning set of rules, because we're going to come up with a situation that we didn't
Oh, yeah.
plan because we've just never been here before.
Right.
Or the department hasn't. A question was raised, Tom, maybe you can answer it. Number 3, what is solo bathing?
Is a requirement of Fulton County has to be on rules.
What is it?
What is it?
By yourself, one person alone in the pool. It's not allowed.
The buddy system.
The lawyers can do that, but Fulton County has to.
Solo bathing.
can't-
Swim by yourself.
Yeah, you got to have
Somebody
at
has to
least
be in
two
there with
people in
you.
the pool.
I'm not coming, but
Got to have at least 2 people in the pool.
Even if there's a lifeguard on duty,
I've never heard that rule, but
Apparently.
Either.
that makes no sense. If there's a lifeguard, 3 lifeguards on
That's the
duty,
whole purpose of having lifeguards.
isn't it better to have only one person than multiple? Wouldn't that be the safest time?
I've never heard the solo
Never.
bather rule.
Never heard that one. That's new. Maybe we
That-
should take,
that's all
while
it came
Jim's working,
from.
maybe we should take just a quick look.
It came from some partner community that doesn't have
I
lifeguards.
get it, noodles. I get it, Coast Guard. I get it, food.
I was looking at the attire. You will have basketball and gym shorts.
No
going
glass
into the pool.
articles.
That's going to
I'm
be hard
good
to
with
monitor.
that. No animals.
Especially if
That will be a job for the
yeah,
lifeguards.
the lifeguards.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, the
kids are
gym
going to come
shorts
straight. They're going to come straight from camp, and they're going right.
So
to
number
the pool.
16 gets to Thunder and Lightning, and every other program provider's got pages of rules about clap bang, how to manage thunder.
Yeah,
This
that's
one
a-
just says can be seen or heard.
Yeah, that.
I only wish that it was that clear cut for
And these days, don't they have the little
my
meters
sports.
that you use like most pools?
There are monitors
Yeah,
now.
by
that
the
actually,
monitor.
Dynamo should have that doing
Yeah,
multiple
something.
pools.
Right.
They'll have some type of monitor for lightning, just like a trainer would at a school.
At the foot, exactly.
And it's within a 15-mile radius.
That might be in it.
It hits
That's
their
what we
phone
should
and they
purchase.
shut it down.
Yep.
That's well worth the purchase right there instead of having some kid
You got to
trying to guesstimate.
maximums, the hours.
Probably hear the Hopewell siren go off.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
You certainly could hear the white columns across the street.
Yeah.
like,
Stay out of. plenty of
I've never
grass
seen a rule
areas.
so specific as number 20, but I'll
You
leave
and I
that
talked
alone.
Number 12 and 20 were two that stood out to me.
It's
Can't spit pool water.
If that's a,
If that's a rule, then we're missing a whole bunch of others. It should be
Which one?
included.
is this being recorded? We can't mention that rule.
Yeah, with number 20, I don't know how many of them would really tell us.
So
I don't think I'm coming to tell you.
my only other comment, you guys have others, I'm sure. My only other comment, I don't know what, we've got main pool rules posted and general pool rules not posted. I don't know why we would just not have pool rules. Some of them are duplicative, so that doesn't,
Yeah.
and just make them all one set of
All
rules and
pictures or
post them all.
something. I agree.
Whether, even if it's on a 8.5 by 11 and it's posted on a
It's just
bulletin
that-
board.
absolutely.
Second page.
So it's not an expensive sign, but it
absolutely.
doesn't seem sense to have two sets of rules
Yeah, because some of them are repetitive.
because some of them are repeating themselves. But
No boats, canoes, or, okay.
One thing to note, it says
Drop my
no
boat,
backflips or
swimming
dives,
pool.
but it doesn't say front flips.
yeah, no, it does.
I'm doing that.
No handstands.
No pets.
They're allowed.
bicycles, tricycles,
Handstands are allowed into the pool.
skates, or other wheel vehicles.
The meeting is clearly taking a turn. Sorry, everyone. Pool is driving the agenda.
Yeah, we need to.
You
no
guys have some work to
backflips or
do, and you got a few days to do it. It looks like to me on pool rules.
Yeah.
More wisdom will prevail. Um,
11 to 8 is
anything else on
a
pool,
long time.
Tom, that we can offer you?
Oh, okay.
I think we wanted to vote on
That's
this.
why the swim team is there from 8 to 11, because it doesn't open up to the general public until 11.
We need to vote on this?
I believe so. I believe that was the
Is that
goal.
Welcome back, Mr. Craig. Thank you. Is that your intent that we have to vote on your pool rules? This is a. Really? This is. We've given some feedback to Tom on a number of rules and a number of observations about the two sets of rules. This is a staff guidance, guidelines, policy thing.
All right,
If you feel like we need to vote on
No,
them,
I would be perfectly fine if I just get your guidance on this.
yeah, so we gave Tom a lot of input while you were tied up for a second there, and he can turn it into pool rules.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, moving next to new business, shame that Jason's not here, but let's talk about the lacrosse wall.
Yes. If you will turn to your drawing, it looks like this.
Yep,
Okay.
got it?
When Bell Memorial Park was first being proposed for reconstruction, there was discussion at the time of possibly building a lacrosse wall. A lacrosse wall is simply a large wall, a concrete wall. It's a smooth surface, so you don't want to use blocks and mortar. It's a preformed, and you pour the concrete, and this way kids can just practice against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like a handball court?
something like a handball court.
Ping pong idea.
And the idea is we actually had a request from Eagle Sticks that expressed an interest in partnering with the city to help build this. We had a request from Cambridge Youth Lacrosse that had expressed in partnering with us. And there was a general feeling that we could probably go to Milton Youth Lacrosse and maybe do a kind of a four-way partnership here. This, depending on the sizing, we're talking anywhere from 20,000 to about 30, 35 to build this. And it was proposed, if the red line shows the direction it would be proposed at and a potential location. This way kids could be on both sides of the wall practicing. Plus, by angling it this way, kids can't hide behind the wall and be goofing around. People, coaches and so on would still see them. I wanted to run this by you. I've been working on, every year I try to put in for additional funding for improvements at Bell. I didn't get enough money to do the sunshades that I would like to do, but I still intend to apply for that. And I wanted to get your advice on this if you think this is a viable thing, especially if we can partner and get some help paying for it. I'd like to pursue this as a budget initiative for next year. So I'd like your opinion, what you guys think of this.
It's just a concrete wall, just a concrete pad.
Okay. You don't even have to have the concrete pad. I mean, it certainly makes it better, but I mean, we could just put down mulch, and because the idea is they're doing it against the wall, not on the ground. Because we got ground, we got. We don't need to spend money to build ground.
Right.
30,000.
Yeah.
What is the thing at the end of the red line
What is-
today?
what
Is that a,
What is that? What is
I
that?
have,
To the right,
yeah, to the right?
Yeah.
it's a swing.
Swing?
It's a swing.
Swing.
Okay, I mean, my only concern.
That's an Eagle Scout project.
My only concern is if you're throwing the ball on this side of the wall, balls ricocheting back out, and folks that are watching the games or maybe setting up. I mean, this area right here to me just seems like it's some area that could be developed that go along with being out there to enjoy the game. I'd have no problem if they were on the other side practicing, but it just seems like you're on this front side of the wall where the general public is, traffic is.
Actually, you'd be amazed how little traffic is there during a Saturday, or for that matter.
I mean, for practice purposes, what about this is just strictly whenever you use this during practice time?
Well, I could certainly imagine on game
Pre-game.
days, teams that are waiting might warm up there.
Right.
Okay, but if you look at it, I mean, the people who are coming to watch the games, they're lined up they're lined up
This
here
is
in
a
the middle.
slow end of the park.
This is,
right.
there's very low usage here, which is why we picked it out as a good spot.
Yep. You weren't here on Saturday in the inter-cross-functional committee discussion, but it came up that perhaps rather than it just being a solid green wall or a solid black wall or a solid blue wall, that it would be painted with artwork of some kind. So now the arts people have a place to put some kind of decoration, painting, mural, something, depending on its size. It'd be visible from that trail, right?
I think it's a great idea. I see those things used all the time. I think lacrosse is a growing sport. It's a big.
Seems like if they're willing to fundraise for it, and we're just going to find some room
I
for
don't anticipate they'd have a lot of trouble. The groups you're talking about.
I would want to know that the material that's on the ground in front of the wall is such that, not a bunch of kids just throwing the ball against the wall are wearing that thing out and the wood chips are flying everywhere and pretty soon you're down to dirt and mud that you put.
We're down to dirt and mud there anyway. No grass grows there.
Yeah, but I'm saying not grass, but I'm saying some kind of material that withstands the foot traffic if that's what you're going after. I don't know what that is.
You could do the rubber mulch there that would, if you wanted to, or you could just leave it like the one at the Milton field now, if you know where the practice field is, it looks just like that. Like it is right here.
Worn out grass.
It's worn out. So it's going to get a lot of action. You're not going to be able to keep anything there. If you put any kind of mulch, they're going to drag it with them. You know that. So I think it makes a ton of sense. It'll get a lot of use, and it certainly creates some activity down on that end of the park.
So do you need you got a discussion going, you're talking to partners, do you need some approval from us to?
Yeah, if you guys simply feel I've got a good idea here and you'd like me to continue to pursue this as a budget initiative as well as something to pursue with our program partners to see if they buy in. I mean, basically, I want to know, is my idea half-baked or is it worth anything here?
No, not at all.
I think it's a good idea.
It's a good use of a relatively low-used part of the park, that's my guess. So if that's the case, then I would entertain a motion to direct Jim to continue to expand partnerships on the lacrosse wall.
I'll make a motion to continue the conversation.
Okay, motion by Todd,
I'll second that.
second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Oh,
Okay.
Are these trees that were planted right here?
Yeah, they're very small trees.
Okay.
If we could work around them, we would. If we have to replant them, it would not be hard.
Okay.
We're talking small caliper trees.
Yeah, it's probably poorly growing back there anyway. Okay.
And so with the green folks.
We're upsetting the tree canopy. Yeah. This concludes the new business. We will now turn to item 6 on the agenda, which is committee reports. And let's begin with Hopewell Baseball. Mr. Shannon.
Spoke to Juan Salas, Hopewell Baseball. They just finished their season. They're into All-Stars, and they're starting fall registrations.
Awesome. Jim, anything to chime in, or Tom, on baseball?
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay, good. Next, Milton Steelers, Coach Hill.
They've signed their contract agreement. I gave Tim the call. He was out of town. Seems to be out of town a lot lately. Just to see when the next board meeting is scheduled to sit in on that and their registration. I do know we talked for a couple players that I have steered in their direction that are going to join their program. So he was receptive to that information, and hopefully I'll have more information next meeting.
Great.
I get to sit down and talk with them. They actually came over to Mount Vernon, visited. We sit down for a little while and talk.
Very cool.
They toured the school.
Awesome. Great. I don't have my lacrosse members here. Jim, do you have anything to add to the Eagle Sticks committee report?
Both Joey and Jason are out. There's really no report. Eagle Sticks, they're done with their season, and that's it.
Great.
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay. Let's move on to unfinished business. First item A, discussion of park memorials.
We last month we approved a bench and plaque for Matthew Lemoyne, and that's Joey says that the plaque is coming in probably first week of June, so we should be able to move forward on that. We also talked about at the Wall of Fame an in memoriam column, and we all agreed Van Cottis should go on that. There is a concern about, funding. One of the council people has expressed that, this should be, self-funding and things like that. Though I think if we are funding it, we can have some control over it. I was also wondering if we were to pursue possibly Matthew Lemoyne as an in memoriam, or is the bench enough? I was considering reaching out to see from the funds that are available for the Matthew Lemoyne Memorial, being that the bench is already paid for by the Eagle Scout, if they would at least be willing to fund this plaque that says in memoriam. Does anybody have a problem if I do that?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
If we're doing the bench for Matthew, do you think that's enough? Or should we try and pursue the idea of putting him up on the wall? When I proposed it as the wall or the bench, Teresa Macri, you remember, she said that she preferred the bench because it was a place people could then be as compared to something on the wall.
And on the bench, his name will be on the bench,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
We're thinking about also putting his name on the wall also.
I was just asking them. I'm just throwing an idea out here. I mean, I would like to ask her if they would be willing to fund the in memoriam in exchange for the fact that the bench is already built.
I think there's a lot of things we could do with the wall. I think when I first brought up Van's name, my idea was, you'd recognize him as a Wall of Fame person in memoriam rather than a dedicated column of in memoriams that we're trying to fill over time.
Okay. All right.
So maybe that would be one way to help differentiate wall versus benches.
Got it.
If that's the question.
Got it. I'm perfectly good with that. I think I've got the direction I'm looking for on that.
Because otherwise I see like you'll have two columns of Wall of Fame, and then you'll have another column that may never fill, and it's space, or it just feels weird.
Yeah. In that regard, then that would mean we would nominate Van for the Wall of Fame in memoriam.
Yeah.
And and certainly with the work he did on this board, I think he would. Yeah. And you all got the word about the fellow, Colin McHugh, who turned out he actually did play hobo baseball. I talked to them. He was very excited. He was very excited.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I will tell you at a future time, I'm going to delay it for now because we have so much on our plate, but we should probably start to look at some point of, as we get memorial requests, standardizing that process.
Right.
But I think we've got a lot on our plate right now, and we've got to prioritize.
So we'll keep a discussion of park memorials is unfinished business, and
Yes.
at some point we'll come back to a process for. Okay. Fair.
Okay.
Now we are moving fast to field capacity safety issues.
Okay. This is the drawings that I had made up about 2-3 months ago, in which I'm trying to represent the artificial turf fields. And of course, I've got the back of the end zone, but of course, we also know that there's land beyond the back of the end zone. But the first one shows how football is dividing this up. And the biggest issue that they had was on the right side where grade 4, 5, 6, and 7 can run into each other. And we had talked to them about experimenting with putting up a couple of the plastic barriers representing that red line as something that is collapsible, but also something that lets the runners know this is your point to stop. We had talked about that, and so in this case, what you're looking at is a field that has roughly 150 kids on it at one time. All right? And then on the next page, what we're doing here is I'm taking lacrosse, and what I'm attempting to show you is if we divide it into quarters, the red line, that would be for U9 boys, U9 girls, U11 girls. And so you could have, there are roughly, I believe it's 12 to 15 people on each of those teams because they play 7-on-7. And then the black line, what we're trying to show here, and I realize I didn't represent it terribly well, but the U11 boys, U13 boys, U15 boys, U13 girls, U15 girls, they play, I think it's 11-on-11 or 12-on-12 based upon gender. And, again, you could have teams practicing back and forth, and so they have 22 to 25 kids on a team. So either way, it's coming out as 50, is roughly 50 kids on the field at the time. And I even show when we do the 7-on-7 for Mary Lacksmiths, they've got, just 14 girls, so you've got 42 girls out there at a time. Everything looks to be pointing at the magic numbers being 50.
50 in a quadrant.
Right. 50 total. So
50 in the field total.
Right. Our lacrosse specialists are not here.
Yep.
So I'd like to propose that we defer this till next month when we can have, that's the reason we try and go. Phil, I know you do some lacrosse, right? But
Right.
You're more soccer now?
Well, we're gonna fill it in with this subcommittee anyway. 'Cause
Right.
Discussion. Go back for everybody's benefit and mine as well, Jim.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
One of the questions in here is field capacity, but the other line was safety.
Yes.
Yes. Let's make sure that we're all clear on what was identified as safety concerns as we're going into capacity planning.
What was, during the master planning discussions, there was people saying that there's balls flying around all over the place and we're having safety issues. So that's what drove this capacity planning thing. So.
Do we have a report of a spectator, parent, fan being hit by balls flying all over the place?
Nope.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Not saying it didn't happen.
I understand.
Okay. But this was the statement made on the record by an individual who I might have been perhaps pushing the issue of I just need more field space.
Yep, got it. Okay. Anything else unfinished business?
Okay, so we'll defer.
Field capacity will get picked up with the subcommittee
Right.
of Jason, Ron, and I for
I have one question.
run into that.
I can't remember. Grades kindergarten and 1 and 2 and 3, are they playing flag only, or are they playing tackle too?
Tackle.
2 through 3 are playing
2 and
tackle.
3 are playing tackle?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
That's one problem. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Can we
Okay.
defer to you as the liaison to help us get that answer?
He's the man.
No, they do.
They do? Yeah.
I don't know about kindergarten.
I don't think kindergarten does.
Yeah,
I don't know, they might,
They're
but I
going to
don't
play.
think so.
They're playing flag down here. They're playing tackle in second, third.
Let's move into staff reports. We've had a really lengthy meeting. I appreciate everybody who's participated here, everybody who's still with us if they're watching, but
We'll be recording for another 34 minutes, so we're still good. Okay.
fire away, Jim.
All right. Update on current planning activities. As you guys know, you've moved forward with the Providence Park. We had very receptive response to council, so that will come up on the agenda on June 18. Okay. The reason it's taking that long is it's going to take the consultant about a week to assemble everything into a final report, and of course that's what we want to vote on. And with the amount of time it will take them, we'll miss the window to get on the June 4 meeting. So it's on the June 18 meeting.
Got it.
Master plan?
That's the Providence Park master plan. The 5-year master plan, we're it kind of took a backseat to trying to get the Providence Park done, as well as get the pool open and Camp Joyful Souls and things like that. So I have a feeling we'll pick that back up in a little bit, and also it may be affected by the Milton Trail Plan, which involves the Milton Country Club. That contract is going up for council approval on June 4. So we're moving forward with that as well.
So I heard you say two things. I heard you say country club and trail plan.
Right.
They're
That's one project. The trail plan as part of the Milton Country Club.
okay.
Or I should say the Milton Country Club as part of a
For
trail
the trail plan. Yep. Okay.
And that's where we're at on our planning activities.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, Tom, can you speak on Golden Games as well as Camp Joyful Souls, please?
Sure. The Golden Games, I'll remind you guys, the senior Olympics, I guess you could say, for Fulton. We are wrapping up. I think we have just a couple events left. Next Thursday is the closing ceremonies, and I'll be present, and I think I'll be announcing all the awards. It's gone great. I ended up having to step in and run, I think, 4 or 5 days of events. The gentleman in Alpharetta had surgery, so I had to step in and help fill in, and everything's going great. Like I said, just a couple more events. Swimming's on Monday, so that's always a fun one. Very competitive.
When are you finishing up?
Next Thursday.
The opening
Combines.
ceremony?
The closing ceremonies. The opening ceremony was at Bell Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
I'd
there.
like to come
Yes.
by and see it.
Where's the closing at?
I want to say Darnell. It's down in Atlanta. Yeah. And Camp Joyful Souls registration, we're still taking a couple weeks, still have openings. But we've got 4 weeks with 30 kids already. Can't take any more than that. And I think the lowest registration week is 28 now. So we've only got a few spots spread along those final 3. And I'm about, 95 to 98% ready to go. Just buttoning up the last few things.
We've hired all the counselors. We've got 8 counselors, a lead counselor and 2 supervisors. We've also got 10 counselors in training who are volunteers helping us. It's really become a massive undertaking.
Yeah, that CIT number got high real quick.
Yes, it did.
I didn't think I was going to have that many. Now I got 10.
Well, I reached out to my umpire crew and had several folks step up.
Yep.
Pool update. The Milton swim team, the target was 50 swimmers. We felt that was the minimum. We needed to create a viable program, And I worked with the Milton swim team, the two moms, and they built the budget around getting 50 swimmers, and currently we're at 81. All right, and the season passes, Tom, what is the number now, season passes?
Last I looked, it was 126 memberships. No, that's, a family of five
Family
counts
five,
as
yeah.
five.
Yeah,
So-
still, that's 125
Yep.
families
Yep.
saying they want a pool.
Yep.
So at 125 roughly, each one's $50. 125, what have we got, 5,000?
That's,
No, am I doing that right? Am I doing the math right?
that's good. It's a good reflection that people are
6,000?
interested in the pool. That's all that
I think it's about
matters,
6.
in some way, shape, or form.
$6,250. So anything that we're getting here, we're trying to help offset some of the unexpected costs from this year.
Right.
But,
That's awesome.
I will tell you, I believe we rushed through this process. We did. I believe I've made a mistake in that we should have considered things like a senior discount or maybe kids under 3 free or something like that. But, this is a first effort. It's the first time we've done this. Yeah, we can learn. We can learn.
Have you had that request?
Pardon?
Have you had that request?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, family's family.
Alpharetta only charges $1 for a senior.
We're charging Alpharetta residents an additional $25 to come, right?
We have a pool. If any, we're going to tip the scales again. It's going to be another program that we win. And
Have you seen the pool Alfretta's building?
I saw part of the
Oh,
construction.
my
I haven't been over
goodness.
there.
Yes, it's impressive.
It's amazing what $6 million does.
Yeah, no doubt. Any other business before the Parks and Rec Board today?
I have one item for you.
Oh, thanks.
For those of you not aware, Children's Charities is hosting an event this Saturday at Bell Memorial Park, the Beer Bash at Bell, from 4 to 8. Come out, sample beer. I know, Coach, you don't, but
I'll drink.
but we can still take your money, and it's an effort. It's another one of the things they're fundraising. Another one of the reasons that they need an answer as to where they're going to put this. So if you got some time, come on out, and they're going to have wine and beer and stuff like that, and just music and all kinds of good stuff.
Awesome.
Anything else?
A record meeting in another regard. If there's no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn Parks and Rec.
Motion by Coach Hill,
Second.
second by Todd. All in favor?
All right, let me get the microphones muted.